I thought I was safe the moment I changed the locks. New house. New start. That's what everyone says, right? 7 days ago, I signed the final papers. Cash. Clean transfer. No complications. The realtor shook my hand, smiled too much, and said, "The previous owner moved out in a hurry. Didn't even take everything." I should have asked more questions, but I didn't, because I needed this house. After the divorce, after losing almost everything in court, this was the one thing I won back. Not from him, but from myself. A quiet place. No neighbors too close. No memories attached. Just silence. And for 6 days, that silence felt like freedom. Until tonight. It started with something small. A red dot. I was in the kitchen, pouring myself a glass of water, when I noticed it, barely visible, tucked into the corner where the ceiling met the cabinet. A faint, blinking light. Not constant. Not obvious. Just enough to make you question if it was even there. At first, I laughed it off. Old security system. Probably disconnected. Maybe the previous owner forgot to remove something. But then I checked the breaker panel. Everything labeled. Everything off except what I turned on. And that's when the silence started to feel different. Heavier. Like it wasn't empty anymore. I grabbed a chair, climbed up, and reached toward the corner. The moment my fingers got close, the red light turned off. Not faded. Not flickered. It shut off. Instantly. Like someone knew I was touching it. I froze. Every instinct told me the same thing. You're not alone. I stepped down slowly, heart pounding harder than it should have. My eyes scanned the room. Walls, windows, reflections in the glass. Nothing. No movement. No sound. Just that quiet, pressing in again. I told myself I was overreacting. I told myself it was nothing. So I did what anyone trying to stay rational would do. I checked the rest of the house. Living room, nothing. Bedroom, nothing. Bathroom, nothing. But when I walked back into the kitchen, the red light was on again, blinking, like it never stopped. That's when my phone rang. Unknown number. I stared at it for a second too long. Something about the timing didn't feel like coincidence. I almost didn't answer. I should have trusted that instinct. But I picked up. Hello. For a moment, there was only silence. Then breathing. Slow. Controlled. And then a man's voice. Calm. Familiar in a way I couldn't place. You found one. My grip tightened around the phone. Who is this? A soft chuckle. You weren't supposed to find that one so soon. Every muscle in my body locked. What are you talking about? A pause. Then, quieter now, almost like he was leaning closer to the phone. I forgot to disconnect one of the cameras. The word hit harder than it should have. Cameras. Plural. My throat went dry. You need to leave. Now. Or I'm calling the police. Another chuckle. This one colder. If you call anyone, I'll know. My eyes snapped to the red light. Still blinking. Still watching. You've been in the kitchen for 12 minutes, he continued. You opened the fridge twice. You hesitated before answering the phone. I stopped breathing. Because every word was true. Who are you? I whispered. A pause. Then the answer. The man who used to live in your house. My stomach dropped. You're lying. No, he said softly. I just forgot something important. Silence stretched between us. Then he said it. Slowly. Clearly. Like it wasn't a request. Come alone. The line went dead. And for the first time since I moved in, I understood something I should have realized on day one. This house was never empty. Underscore. I didn't move for at least 10 seconds after the call ended. The silence came back, but it wasn't the same silence anymore. Now it had weight. Now it had eyes. I slowly lowered the phone, still staring at the red blinking light in the corner of the kitchen. My brain was trying to catch up, trying to find something logical, something explainable. But there was only one truth that made sense. He was watching me. Not before. Not earlier. Right now. I forced myself to breathe. Think. If there was one camera, and he said he forgot one, then that meant the system used to be active. Recently. Not years ago. Not abandoned. Recently enough for him to still have access. Recently enough for him to know my movements down to the second. I stepped backward, slowly, keeping my eyes on the red dot. Okay, I whispered under my breath. Okay, think. First rule, don't panic. Second rule, don't let him see you panic. Because if he could see me, then every reaction I had was information. And right now, he had the advantage. I turned slightly, just enough to break direct eye contact with the camera, and walked out of the kitchen like nothing had happened. Normal pace. Controlled breathing. Like I didn't know. Like I wasn't afraid. But the moment I stepped into the hallway, I moved faster. Straight to the bedroom. Door shut. Locked. Then I did the one thing I should have done the moment I saw that red light. I checked the Wi-Fi. The network list popped up instantly. My connection. A neighbor's connection. And then one more. Hidden network. No name. Full signal. My stomach dropped. That wasn't there before. Or maybe it was. Maybe I just didn't notice. But now, it felt like it was staring back at me. I tapped into the router settings. Device list. There were 3 connected devices. My phone, my laptop, and one unknown device. No name, no manufacturer, just a string of numbers. Active, transmitting data, constantly. I swallowed hard. He's still here, I whispered. Not physically, but close enough. I unplugged the router. Instantly, the room went quiet in a different way. No signal, no connection, no access. For a second, I felt relief. Then my phone buzzed. Unknown number. Again. I didn't answer this time. The phone stopped. Then buzzed again. And again. 3 times. Then a message came through. Unknown. That won't help. My chest tightened. Unknown. The kitchen camera isn't on your Wi-Fi. I slowly turned my head toward the bedroom ceiling. Nothing. No red light. No blinking. But that didn't mean anything anymore. Because now I knew I wasn't looking for obvious things. I was looking for things designed not to be found. Another message. Unknown. You're smarter than I expected. My hands were shaking now, and I couldn't hide it anymore. Unknown. But you missed something. I didn't respond. I didn't move. I didn't even breathe fully. Because every second felt like a test. Then the final message came. And this time, it changed everything. Unknown. The camera in your bedroom isn't the problem. I felt my entire body go cold. Slowly, mechanically, I turned toward the mirror across the room. At first, I saw nothing. Just my reflection. Pale. Frozen. Eyes wide. Then I noticed it. Not a red light. Not a blink. Something worse. A tiny, almost invisible distortion in the corner of the mirror frame. So subtle I would have never seen it if I wasn't looking for it. But now that I saw it, I couldn't unsee it. I stepped closer. Heart pounding so loud it felt like it would give me away. And then, the phone buzzed again. One final message. Unknown. Don't make me prove how much I can see. I stopped walking. Because suddenly, I understood something even more dangerous than before. This wasn't just surveillance. This was control. Every step I took, he already knew. Every move I was about to make, he was waiting for it. And the worst part? He wasn't rushing me. He wasn't threatening loudly. He was patient, like someone who had done this before. My grip tightened around the phone. Because now, there was only one question left that mattered. If he could see everything, then what exactly did he want me to do when he said, "Come alone"? I didn't touch the mirror. I didn't move any closer. Because now I understood the pattern. Every time I acted on instinct, he responded faster. Like he was waiting for me to make the first move. So I stopped giving him one. I stepped back slowly, keeping my eyes on the mirror frame, then turned away like I had lost interest. Like I didn't see it. Like I didn't believe him. Then I sat down on the edge of the bed and placed my phone face down beside me. Deliberate. Controlled. If he was watching, I wanted him to see something new. Not fear. Not panic. Something harder to read. Silence stretched. 10 seconds. 20. 30. Then, the phone vibrated. I didn't rush. I let it buzz once more before flipping it over. Unknown, good. You're learning. I didn't reply. Unknown. Most people panic by now. They start tearing things apart. Calling someone. Running. Another message came almost immediately. Unknown. You didn't. I stared at the screen, forcing my breathing to stay steady. Because this wasn't just observation anymore. This was evaluation. He was studying me. Testing reactions. Building a profile. And if that was true, then I could do the same. I typed slowly. Me, what do you want? I hit send. For the first time, I saw the typing indicator. Not immediate. Not delayed. Measured. Like every word mattered. Then his response came. Unknown. I already told you. A pause. Then, unknown. Come alone. I clenched my jaw. Me where? 3 dots appeared again. Stayed longer this time. Then disappeared. Then came back. He was thinking. Or pretending to. Then finally, unknown. Not yet. My grip tightened slightly. He was controlling the pace. Not just watching. Directing. I stood up slowly and walked toward the bedroom door. Stopped. Listened. Nothing outside. No footsteps. No sound. But that didn't mean anything anymore. Because sound wasn't how he operated. I unlocked the door and opened it just a few inches. Dark hallway. Still. Normal. Too normal. I stepped out. One step. Then another. Every movement measured. If he wanted to see me panic, I wasn't going to give him that. I walked past the kitchen entrance and forced myself not to look at the camera. That was the hardest part. Because I could feel it. That invisible pressure. That awareness. Like standing under a spotlight you couldn't see. I kept walking. Straight to the front door. My hand hovered over the handle. And for the first time since the call, I hesitated. Because leaving might be exactly what he wanted. But staying? That meant playing his game. And I didn't know the rules yet. The phone buzzed again. I didn't turn around. I didn't look at the cameras. I just pulled the phone out slowly and read the message. Unknown. If you walk out that door, you won't get back in. My fingers froze on the handle. Unknown. Not because I'll stop you. A second message came right after. Unknown. Because you won't want to come back. A chill ran down my spine. Not a threat. Not directly. Something worse. A suggestion. Like he knew something I didn't. I slowly released the handle. Stepped back. Turned around. And that's when I made my first real decision. If he wanted control, I needed information. And there was only one place in the house I hadn't checked yet. The basement. The realtor mentioned it once. Quickly. Too quickly. Storage space. Nothing special. I didn't even go down there during the walkthrough. Didn't feel the need to. Now, it was the only place that made sense. Because if someone built a system like this, they didn't just leave pieces behind. They left a center. A place where everything connected. I moved toward the basement door at the end of the hallway. Each step heavier than the last. The air felt different down here. Colder. Denser. Like the house itself was holding its breath. My hand reached for the knob. Paused. Then turned it slowly. The door creaked open. Darkness below. No light. No movement. Just a narrow staircase leading down into something I hadn't been meant to see. The phone buzzed again. I didn't need to check it. Because I already knew. He was watching. Waiting. To see if I would go down. I stared into the dark for 2 seconds. 3. Then I stepped forward. And the moment my foot touched the first step, the light at the bottom flicked on by itself. And his message came through. Unknown. Good choice. I froze on the first step. The light didn't just turn on. It reacted. To me. Not a timer. Not a motion sensor delay. Instant. Precise. Like someone was watching my exact position and flipped the switch the moment I committed. My hand tightened around the railing. Cold metal. Real. Grounding. Okay, I whispered under my breath. Keep going. Because stopping here, halfway between the known and the unknown, was worse than either. I took the second step. Then the third. Each one slow. Measured. Quiet. The light below was dim. Not enough to see everything clearly. Just enough to guide me down. That was intentional. He didn't want me blind. He wanted me to see, just not all at once. Halfway down, I noticed something on the wall. Small black dots. Not one. Several. Placed at different heights along the staircase. My chest tightened. Cameras. Not hidden. Not anymore. Now they were obvious. Because he wanted me to know. I didn't look directly at them. I kept my gaze slightly off-center, like I hadn't fully registered what they were. But inside, I counted. 1, 2, 3, 4. Too many for a normal house. Too deliberate for coincidence. I reached the bottom. Concrete floor. Bare walls. But not empty. Far from it. The basement wasn't used for storage. It was organized. Structured. Controlled. Against the far wall, there was a long table. On it, screens. 4 of them. All on. All live. My breath caught. Kitchen. Living room. Hallway. Bedroom. Every angle I had just walked through. Displayed in real time. No delay. No distortion. Just me. From 4 different perspectives. I didn't step closer immediately. Because something about the setup felt wrong. Not old. Not abandoned. Active. Maintained. Used recently. Very recently. The phone buzzed. I didn't take my eyes off the screens this time. Unknown. Now you understand. I swallowed. Slowly stepped forward. Each step bringing the screens into sharper focus. And then I saw something that made my stomach drop even harder. There were recordings. Not just live feeds. A timeline. Dates. Timestamps. Organized folders. I moved closer, my hand hovering over the keyboard, not touching it yet, because I already knew the moment I interacted with anything down here, he would react. The phone buzzed again. Unknown, go ahead. Look, permission, or a trap. I exhaled slowly, then reached forward and tapped one of the folders. It opened instantly. A video file, labeled with today's date. My heart started pounding again. I clicked it. The screen flickered, then showed the front door. From earlier tonight, I watched myself walk in. Normal, unaware, carrying groceries, closing the door behind me. Then the footage continued, longer than it should have, because I remembered that moment. I didn't stay by the door. I moved into the kitchen, but in the video, I didn't. I stood there, still, for almost 30 seconds, doing nothing, just standing. My chest tightened. That's not right, I whispered. I leaned closer, watching my own body on the screen, unmoving. Then, my head turned slightly, not toward the kitchen, toward the camera, directly at it. My breath stopped, because I don't remember doing that, not even a little. On the screen, I took one step closer to the door camera, then another, slow, deliberate, like I knew exactly where it was. And then, I smiled. Not a normal smile, not confused, not nervous, a calm, controlled smile, like I was responding to someone. My fingers pulled back from the keyboard instantly. That's not me. But the screen didn't lie. The timestamp didn't lie. The footage was real. The phone buzzed again. This time, I looked at it. Unknown. That's when I knew you were different. A pause. Then another message. Unknown. You noticed faster than the others. My heart skipped. Others. The word echoed in my head, louder than anything else. I slowly turned away from the screens, scanning the rest of the basement for the first time. Because until now, I had only been looking at what he wanted me to see. But now I was looking for what he didn't mention. And that's when I saw it. In the corner, half in shadow, something covered with a thin plastic sheet. Human-sized. Too still. Too shaped. My pulse slammed against my ribs. Because suddenly, this wasn't just about cameras anymore. This wasn't just about being watched. This was about something else entirely. Something physical. Something real. The phone buzzed one more time. Unknown, don't rush. I didn't move. Didn't breathe. Because I already knew. Whatever was under that sheet was never meant to be found this early. I didn't go to it immediately. Because everything up to this point had a pattern. Every time I moved too fast, he took control. So I stayed still. Standing in the middle of the basement, eyes locked on that shape under the plastic sheet, forcing my breathing to slow down. In. Out. Think. If he wanted me to rush, then there was a reason, and I wasn't going to give him that. The phone vibrated in my hand. Unknown, you're hesitating. I didn't answer. Didn't look away. Unknown, that's good. Fear keeps people alive. My jaw tightened slightly. He wasn't wrong. But fear also made people predictable. And I had a feeling that's what he was used to. I took one step forward, then stopped again, watching, listening. Nothing moved. Nothing changed. The plastic sheet didn't shift. No sound underneath it. No breathing. No sign of life. But that didn't make it safe. I took another step. Closer now. Close enough to see the outline more clearly. Shoulders. Head. Arms at the sides. Definitely human-shaped. My pulse spiked again, harder this time. Okay, I whispered. You need to know. Because guessing was worse. Guessing meant he controlled the narrative. Seeing it meant I did. I reached out slowly. 2 fingers. Barely touching the edge of the plastic. Cold. Smooth. Real. The phone buzzed again. Unknown. Careful. I ignored it. My fingers tightened slightly, and I pulled. The sheet slid back with a soft, dragging sound, revealing nothing. I blinked. For a second, my brain couldn't process what I was seeing, because it didn't match the shape. It didn't match the expectation. It wasn't a body. It wasn't a person. It was a mannequin. Full-sized. Positioned upright. Dressed. In my clothes. My breath caught in my throat. Same jacket I wore earlier. Same shirt. Same color. Same fit. Impossible. I stepped back instinctively. How? The word didn't finish. Because I already knew the answer. He didn't need access to me. He needed access to the house. And he had that long before I did. The phone buzzed again. Unknown. Do you see it now? My eyes stayed locked on the mannequin. Because the details were too precise. Not just similar. Identical. Even the way the sleeves folded. Even the slight wrinkle near the collar. Like it had been copied. Studied. Recreated. Why? I whispered. My voice sounded smaller now, thinner, because this wasn't just observation anymore. This was preparation, planning, time spent, a lot of time. The phone buzzed again. Unknown, stand next to it. My entire body went still. No, the answer came out immediately, before I even thought about it. Because now, I understood the game. This wasn't about fear. This was about comparison, positioning, control. Unknown, I want to see something. My grip tightened around the phone. Then come see it yourself. Silence. For the first time since this started. He didn't respond immediately. Seconds passed. 5, 10, 15. Long enough for something to shift. Because now, I wasn't just reacting. I pushed back. The phone buzzed. Unknown. Not yet. Then another message. Unknown, you're close. Close to what? The question hit instantly. But I didn't ask it. Because asking meant giving him direction. Instead, I looked past the mannequin. Further into the corner. Behind it. And that's when I saw something I missed before. A small metal cabinet. Locked. Industrial. Different from everything else in the basement. Not part of the setup. Something older. Something original to the house. My focus shifted immediately. Because everything here, the cameras, the screens, the mannequin, felt added. Built. But that cabinet? It felt like it was always there. The phone buzzed again. Faster this time. Unknown, don't open that. I didn't move. Didn't even look at the phone. Because that was the first real reaction he gave. Not calm. Not controlled. Immediate. Sharp. Almost urgent. And that told me everything I needed to know. Whatever was inside that cabinet wasn't part of his plan. I stepped past the mannequin. Slowly. Deliberately. Ignoring the screen. Ignoring the cameras. Ignoring him. The air felt heavier with each step. Like I was moving somewhere I wasn't supposed to go. The phone vibrated again. Twice. 3 times. Messages stacking. Unknown, stop. Unknown, you don't understand what that is. Unknown, don't open it. I reached the cabinet. Cold metal. Solid. Locked tight. No keypad. No electronics. Just a physical lock. Old. Simple. Real. Different from everything else down here. Which meant it couldn't be controlled remotely. I wrapped my fingers around the handle. Paused. Just for a second. Because now, for the first time since this started, he wasn't in control anymore. I was. The phone buzzed again. One last message. Unknown. If you open that, everything changes. I looked at the lock. Then at my reflection faintly visible in the metal surface. And I made my decision. Because whatever this was, I wasn't playing his game anymore. I was ending it. Or starting something worse. I pulled. Hard. And the lock snapped open with a sharp metallic crack. Then the cabinet door slowly creaked, and what was inside wasn't meant for me to find. Not yet. The door didn't swing open all the way. It stopped halfway. Like something inside was pushing back. I tightened my grip and pulled harder. The metal groaned, then gave. The cabinet opened fully. And for a second, I didn't understand what I was looking at. Because it wasn't one thing. It was many. Stacked. Organized. Documented. Folders. Dozens of them. Each labeled. Each dated. Each personal. My chest tightened as I reached in and pulled one out. The label was handwritten. Not printed. Not random. A name. Female. Age written beside it. A date range. Start and end. My fingers froze. Because I understood immediately, this wasn't storage. This was a record. I opened the folder. Photos. Printed. High quality. Surveillance angles. Kitchen. Living room. Bedroom. Different house. Different layout. But the same system. The same pattern. The same perspective. My breathing became shallow. Because the woman in the photos didn't know she was being watched. Just like me. I flipped to the next page. Notes. Detailed. Behavioral. Time-stamped observations. Subject returns home 6:12 p.m. Subject uses phone before sleep. Subject checks doors twice. I slammed the folder shut. That's not possible, but it was. Because it was in my hands. Real. Physical. And it wasn't just one. I reached back into the cabinet. Pulled another folder. Then another. Different names. Different faces. Same format. Same documentation. Same ending. Every folder had an end date. None of them had a continuation. My heart started pounding again. Harder now. Because this wasn't about me anymore. Not just me. This had been happening for a long time. The phone vibrated violently in my hand. Message after message stacking. Unknown, close it. Unknown, you shouldn't have opened that. Unknown, that wasn't part of this. His tone changed. Gone was the calm. Gone was the control. Now, there was something else. Urgency. Fear. And that told me everything. I stepped back from the cabinet slowly, still holding the folder. You've done this before, I said quietly. My voice steadier than I expected. For a moment, no reply. Then, unknown, that doesn't concern you. I let out a short breath. Almost a laugh. It does now. Silence again. But this time, it felt different. Because the balance had shifted. He wasn't guiding anymore. He was reacting. I looked down at the folder in my hands, then flipped it open again, scanning faster this time, looking for patterns, connections, anything. And then I saw it. At the very back, a final page, different from the rest. No notes, no timestamps, just a single printed line. Transfer complete. Below it, a number. Large. 7 digits. My stomach dropped. Money. This wasn't just surveillance. This was a system. A process. Watch. Record. Finish. Then payment. The phone buzzed again. Slower this time. Controlled again. But forced. Unknown. Put it back. I didn't move. Didn't even look at the phone. Because now, I wasn't reacting to him anymore. I was thinking past him. If this was about money, then I wasn't the first. Which meant, I wasn't the real target. I was the next step. I turned slightly, scanning the basement again. The screens. The cameras. The mannequin. All of it suddenly made sense in a way it didn't before. Preparation. Replication. Observation. He wasn't just watching people. He was studying them. Replacing them. Or preparing to. My chest tightened. Because one thought hit harder than everything else. What happens after the end date? The phone buzzed immediately. Too fast. Too sharp. Unknown. Stop. That was it. One word. No control. No calm. Just stop. I looked back at the cabinet. At the dozens of folders still inside. Then at the one in my hand. Then at the screens showing me from 4 angles. And I understood something clearly for the first time. This house was never meant to be sold. It was handed over. From one subject to the next. My grip tightened around the folder. Because now, I wasn't trying to escape anymore. I was trying to understand the rules before it was too late. The phone buzzed again. Final message. Short. Cold. Unknown. You were supposed to follow instructions. I looked at the screen, then slowly typed back. Me or what? 3 dots appeared. Stayed longer than ever before. Then disappeared. No reply. And that silence was louder than anything he had said. Because now, he didn't know what I was going to do next. And for the first time since this started, neither did I. The silence didn't last long. It never did. My phone vibrated once. Not a message. A call. Unknown number. Again. I stared at it this time and let it ring. 1 second. 2. 3. Then I answered. But I didn't say anything. Neither did he. For a moment, it was just breathing on both ends of the line. Controlled. Measured. Like 2 people waiting for the other to break first. Then he spoke. You went too far. His voice was different now. Lower. Less composed. Less certain. I leaned slightly against the cabinet, still holding the folder in one hand. You told me to look. A pause. That's not what I meant. I almost smiled. Because that was the first mistake he made. He corrected himself. And in doing that, he admitted something. He didn't control everything. Then what did you mean? I asked quietly. Silence again. Longer this time. He was thinking. Adjusting. Trying to regain ground. You were supposed to follow instructions, he said finally. Same line as the message. Recycled. Weaker now. Why? I pressed. So I end up like them? I glanced down at the folder. At the name. At the end date. At the number printed beneath. Transfer complete. Another pause. Then, you're not like them. The answer came too quickly. Too smooth. Prepared. That meant it wasn't true. Or at least, not fully. Then why me? I asked. No answer. But I didn't need one anymore. Because I was already connecting the pieces. Because I bought the house, I said slowly. Because I walked in without knowing. Because I fit whatever pattern you're running. He didn't interrupt. Didn't correct me. Which meant I was getting close. Very close. I pushed further. You don't pick people randomly, I continued. You watch them first. Study them. Then you wait until they're isolated. Vulnerable. Easy to control. The phone line stayed open. But silent. That silence confirmed more than any answer. My grip tightened slightly around the folder. You didn't forget to disconnect the cameras, I said. You left one on purpose. Still nothing. But you made a mistake, I added. That got him. What mistake? There it was. Immediate. Sharp. Reactive. I looked up at the screens. At my own image staring. Back from multiple angles. You showed me too much, too early. A pause. Then a low exhale. Not anger. Something else. Recognition. You opened the cabinet, he said quietly. Yes. You weren't supposed to do that. I know. Another pause. Longer. He was recalculating again. But now he was behind. Because now I understood the structure. This wasn't chaos. This was a process. A system. And systems had weaknesses. You said I was different, I continued. That's not a compliment. That's a problem. Silence. Then, you don't understand what this is. I shook my head slightly. No, I said. But I understand what it leads to. My eyes dropped back to the folder. To the final page. To the number. You get paid when it's done. The air on the other end changed. Subtle. But real. Because that was the part he didn't want me to see. You should put that back, he said. Come again. But forced. You're not thinking clearly. I am now. I stepped away from the cabinet. Slowly. Deliberately. Positioning myself between the screens and the stairs. Not hiding. Not running. Controlling space. You've done this more than once, I said. Which means someone is paying you. Which means this house isn't the only one. No response. But I didn't need one. Because now the picture was forming. Larger. Worse. More organized than I wanted it to be. This isn't about me, I said quietly. I just walked into something that was already in motion. The phone line stayed open. But he didn't speak. Because now, there wasn't much left for him to say. I looked up at the cameras again. Then back at the staircase. Then at the cabinet. And made a decision. I'm not coming alone, I said. That broke the silence instantly. You don't have a choice. His voice was sharp now. Controlled, but barely. I do. No, he said. You really don't. I tilted my head slightly. Thinking. Then asked the one question that changed everything. What happens if I don't go at all? The pause that followed was the longest yet. Because this time, he didn't have an immediate answer. And that told me something critical. This part, this step, was necessary. For him. Not just for me. The phone crackled slightly. Then he spoke again. Slower now. Careful. If you don't come, you won't understand. I exhaled quietly. Because that wasn't a threat. That was leverage. And leverage could be broken. I already understand enough, I said. Then I ended the call. The silence that followed was different. Not empty. Not watched. Unstable. Because now, the script had changed. And for the first time since this started, I wasn't following it anymore. Ending the call didn't give me control. It exposed the gap. And gaps go both ways. For 3 seconds, nothing happened. No message. No sound. No reaction. Then every screen in front of me flickered at the same time. Once. Twice. Then stabilized. Still showing the same 4 angles. But something was different. The timestamp. It had shifted. Ahead by exactly 30 seconds. My stomach tightened. That wasn't a glitch. That was a delay. He wasn't watching me live anymore. He was watching a buffer. Which meant, for the first time since this started, I had a window. Small. But real. I stepped sideways, just out of the direct angle of the nearest camera. Then I counted. 1, 2, 3. And moved fast. Not panicked. Not random. Precise. I reached the table and yanked one of the monitor cables loose. The screen went black. The other stayed on. But that wasn't the point. The point was the reaction. The phone buzzed instantly. Unknown, don't. Too fast. Too sharp. He noticed. Which meant the delay wasn't complete. Partial system. Fragmented control. Good. That was something I could use. I unplugged another cable. Second screen, black. Now only 2 remained. The phone vibrated again. Unknown. Stop touching the system. I didn't stop. I leaned in closer, scanning the hardware beneath the table. Router splitters. Signal repeaters. External drives. This wasn't a simple setup. It was layered. Redundant. Designed to survive interference. Which meant, disabling it completely would take time. Time I didn't have. So I changed direction. I grabbed one of the external drives. Small. Portable. Active light blinking. Data inside. A lot of it. The phone buzzed again. Longer this time. Call. I ignored it. Instead, I pulled the power cable from the drive. The blinking stopped. I slipped it into my jacket. Evidence. Leverage. Something he didn't expect me to take. The call ended. Then a message came through. Unknown. That was a mistake. I almost smiled. Because now we were even. He wasn't the only one taking something. I stepped back from the table, scanning the room again. The mannequin, the cabinet, the remaining screens, and the stairs. Everything connected. Everything part of the same system. But one thing still didn't fit. The come alone. That wasn't about control. Not entirely. That was about location. A place outside this house. A next step. Which meant, if I didn't go, he would force the situation. Or escalate. The phone buzzed again. Unknown, you think you're ahead. I didn't respond. Unknown, you're not. Another message. Unknown, you just changed the timeline. That line hit differently. Not anger. Not fear. Adjustment. Which meant he had options. Backup plans. I moved toward the stairs slowly, keeping my movements controlled. Not rushing. Not hiding. Because now I needed him to think I was still inside the frame. Still predictable. Still playing. The phone buzzed again. Unknown. If you leave the basement now, you won't see what's next. I paused on the first step. Not because of the warning, but because of the wording. See what's next. Not survive. Not avoid. He needed me to see something. That meant there was another reveal. Another layer. And he wanted control over when I found it. I stepped back down. Not fully. Just enough to stay within camera range. Then I spoke. Quiet. Clear. You don't need me to come alone, I said. You need me to follow the sequence. Silence. Then the phone buzzed. Unknown, you're close. Same phrase as before. But now it meant something different. You built this in stages, I continued. Observation. Pressure. Isolation. Then the meeting. I looked directly at the camera for the first time since coming down here. Not avoiding it. Not pretending. Facing it. And if I skip a step, it doesn't work. The reply came slower this time. Measured. Careful again. Unknown, you're assuming too much. I shook my head slightly. No, I'm interrupting it. That landed. Because the next message didn't come right away. Seconds passed. Then finally, unknown, you still have to come. There it was again. But weaker. Less absolute. Because now, it wasn't an order. It was a requirement. For him. Not me. I turned toward the stairs again. This time, I didn't stop. 1 step. 2. 3. Then halfway up, I paused and said one last thing. If I come, it won't be the way you planned. The phone buzzed instantly. Unknown, you don't control that. I didn't reply. Because he was wrong. I reached the top of the stairs. Stepped into the hallway. And for the first time since this started, I wasn't reacting to the house anymore. I was using it. Because now I had something he didn't expect. Time. A gap in his system. And a piece of his operation in my pocket. And that meant, the next move was mine. The hallway felt different the moment I stepped out of the basement. Not quieter. Sharper. Like the house was still watching, but no longer in control. I didn't stop moving. Straight past the kitchen. Past the blinking red light. This time, I looked at it directly. Held eye contact. Let him see that I knew. Then I kept walking. No hesitation. No reaction. Because now, every movement was a message. I entered the living room and closed the curtains in one smooth motion. Not to hide. To change the environment. Light off. Visibility reduced. Angles disrupted. If he was watching through fixed cameras, I just made his job harder. The phone buzzed. Unknown, that won't help you. I ignored it. Moved to the lamp. Turned it on. Then off. Then on again. Creating inconsistent lighting. Breaking visual clarity. Not enough to blind the cameras, but enough to distort timing. Then I sat down. Right in the center of the room. Deliberate. Visible. Controlled. I pulled the external drive from my jacket and placed it on the table in front of me. Then I picked up my phone and typed. Me. I took something you need. I hit send. 3 dots appeared instantly. Disappeared. Came back. Faster this time. Less controlled. Unknown, put it back. I almost smiled. Because that confirmed it. The drive mattered. A lot. Me, what's on it? No response. 5 seconds. 10. Then, unknown, not what you think. Weak. Deflecting. I leaned back slightly. Let the silence stretch. Because now I understood something important. He reacted to loss. Not threat. Not questions. Loss. So I pushed it. Me, payment records? Or something worse. The typing indicator appeared immediately. Stayed. Stayed longer. Then vanished. No reply. That was enough. I picked up the drive again, turning it slowly in my hand, making sure it stayed within camera view. Then I spoke out loud. Not to the phone. To the room. You don't get paid unless it's complete. The phone buzzed instantly. Unknown, stop talking. Too fast. Too emotional. Another crack. I continued. So if I don't finish your sequence, you don't get anything. Silence. Then, unknown, you don't understand how this works. I tilted my head slightly. No, but I understand what you need. I paused, then said it clearly. You need me to show up. That line landed. Because this time, there was no immediate reply. Seconds passed. Then the phone rang. Call. I answered. Still seated. Still visible. Still in control. You think this is leverage? He asked. His voice was tighter now. Less calm. Less distant. Yes. A pause. Then a quiet exhale. You're not the first person to think that. That line hit harder than anything else he'd said. Because it confirmed it again. Others tried. Others failed. Then I'll be the first one who doesn't. I replied. Silence. Then, you opened the cabinet, he said. You took the drive. You disrupted the system. His tone shifted again. Not emotional. Measured. Evaluating. But you're still in the house. I didn't respond. Because that part was true. And that means, he continued slowly, you're still inside the process. I leaned forward slightly. That depends. On what? I looked directly at the nearest camera. Then said it. On whether I decide to finish it. Silence. Longer than before. Because now, that wasn't defiance. That was negotiation. The phone line stayed open. Then finally, what do you want? There it was. The shift. Clear. Unmistakable. He asked. Not ordered. Not instructed. Asked. I glanced down at the drive. Then back up. Everything. A pause. That's not possible. It is if you want this to. End clean. Another pause. Longer. Deeper. Because now, he wasn't just reacting. He was calculating risk. Exposure. Loss. I stood up slowly. Still holding the phone. Still within view. I'm not coming alone, I said again. And I'm not walking into something I don't understand. You don't have a choice. His voice tried to return to control, but it didn't land the same way anymore. I do, I said. Because right now, you need me more than I need you. That silence was the loudest moment yet. Because it was true. And he knew it. The phone crackled slightly. Then he spoke again. Lower. More controlled. Tomorrow. 8 p.m. I didn't interrupt. You come to the location I send you. A pause. And you come alone. I shook my head slightly, even though he couldn't fully see the gesture clearly. No silence. Then, if you don't, this doesn't end. I exhaled slowly, because now the stakes were clear. Not implied. Not hidden. Direct. Good. That made it simpler. I'll decide how it ends, I said. Then I ended the call. No hesitation. No delay. Because now, this wasn't his sequence anymore. It was mine. And tomorrow was no longer his setup. It was my trap. I didn't sleep. Not even for a minute. Because sleep meant losing time. And time was the only advantage I had left. The house stayed quiet after the call. No more messages. No more interruptions. But that didn't mean he stopped watching. It meant he was waiting. Resetting. Rebuilding control on his side. So I did the same. I moved back to the basement. Not rushed. Not hidden. Deliberate. Letting every camera still active see me return. Because now I wanted him to think one thing. I was still inside the system. Still playing along. The 2 remaining screens were still on. Still showing delayed feeds. 30 seconds ahead. The gap still there. Good. That meant whatever I did next, he wouldn't see in real time. I placed the external drive on the table again. Then reconnected power to the system. Not fully. Just enough. One screen flickered back to life. Partial feed. Limited access. Controlled. I sat down and opened the interface. File structure. Encrypted folders. But not all of them. Some sections were exposed. Careless. Or rushed. Either way, it was enough. I plugged the drive into one of the open ports. Waited. 3 seconds. 5. Then the system recognized it. Mounted. Accessible. My pulse tightened. Because now I wasn't guessing anymore. I was inside it. I opened the first directory. Logs. Transactions. Timestamps. Everything matched what I saw in the folders. Subjects. Observation periods. Completion dates. Then, payments. Multiple entries. Different accounts. Different names. But all routed through the same endpoint. A single receiver. Hidden behind layers. But consistent. That was the key. I pulled out my phone and started recording the screen. Not screenshots. Full video. Proof. Sequence. Everything. Because if this ended badly, this was the only thing that would survive it. The phone buzzed. A message. Unknown, you're back downstairs. I didn't react. Didn't stop recording. The delay was still working, which meant he was seeing what I did 30 seconds ago. Not now. I kept moving. Faster now. More precise. Opened another folder. Audio logs. Conversations. Fragments. Subjects talking to themselves. Phone calls. Fear. Confusion. Isolation. All recorded. All stored. All categorized. My chest tightened. Because this wasn't just surveillance. This was psychological mapping. Behavioral control. Pattern prediction. A system built to break people down step by step. The phone buzzed again. Unknown. Stop accessing the files. Too late. I already had what I needed. I ejected the drive. Slipped it back into my jacket. Then pulled the main cable from the system. This time, all screens went black. Complete shutdown. No delay. No feed. Nothing. Silence hit the basement hard. Heavy. Final. The phone vibrated immediately. Call. I answered. You just made a serious mistake, he said. Come again. But forced. No, I replied. I just finished something you started. A pause. Then, you think shutting it down changes anything? Yes. Another pause. You still don't understand what this is. I stood up slowly, looking around the basement one last time. The cameras, the table, the cabinet, everything that used to feel controlled, now felt exposed. I understand enough, I said. Silence. Then, you're going to the location. Not a question, not a suggestion, a statement. I walked toward the stairs. Send it. That stopped him. Because that wasn't resistance. That was acceptance. But not on his terms. The pause stretched. Longer than before. Because now he had to decide. Was I still part of the plan? Or had I become a risk? The phone buzzed. Message. An address. No explanation. No detail. Just coordinates. I memorized it instantly. Then deleted the message. Tomorrow. 8 p.m., he said. I didn't respond. Because now, the conversation was over. I ended the call, climbed the stairs, and stepped back into the house. But this time, it didn't feel like I was being watched. It felt like I was leaving something behind. Because the system downstairs wasn't running anymore. And that meant one thing. If he wanted to finish this, he couldn't do it remotely. He had to show up. And that was exactly what I needed. I walked to the front door, unlocked it, opened it halfway, then stopped. Because one final thought hit me. Clear, sharp, dangerous. This wasn't just a meeting. This was the end of the sequence. Which meant someone had to complete it. And tomorrow night, only one of us would. I didn't go home after leaving the house. I didn't go anywhere predictable. Because predictable was exactly what his system depended on. Instead, I drove. No destination at first. Just distance. Time to think. Time to prepare. The address he sent sat in my head the entire drive. Burned in. Precise. Deliberate. Not random. Which meant he had used it before. More than once. I checked the time. 6:12 p.m. Less than 2 hours. Enough to set the trap. Not enough to make mistakes. I pulled into a gas station and parked under direct light. Visibility. Cameras. Witnesses. Not because I was afraid, but because I was done being isolated. I took out the drive. Plugged it into my laptop. Opened everything again. This time, faster. Focused. Looking for one thing. Connection. The receiver account. The endpoint. Who was paying him? Because if I knew that, this wasn't just a confrontation anymore. It was exposure. The logs loaded. Same pattern. Same routing. Same masked identity. But, deeper in the directory, there was something new. A folder I hadn't opened before. Labeled, Final Transfer Authorization. My pulse tightened. I opened it. Inside, a single document. Encrypted, but not fully. The header was visible. A name. Not his. Someone else. The real controller. The one behind the system. I stared at it for 2 seconds. 3. Then copied everything. Transferred it. Multiple backups. Cloud. Email. Hidden storage. Because now, if something happened to me, this didn't disappear. The phone buzzed. Message. Unknown. You're not at the house. I didn't respond. Unknown. That wasn't part of the agreement. Agreement. I almost laughed. Because that word didn't apply anymore. I closed the laptop. Put the drive back into my jacket. Checked the time. 7:31 p.m. Time to move. I started the car. Drove toward the location. Not fast. Not slow. Controlled. Every turn deliberate. Every stop calculated. I didn't call anyone. Didn't warn anyone. Because this wasn't about backup. This was about control. If he thought I came alone, he would show up. And that was the only way this ended. 7:58 p.m. I arrived. The location was exactly what I expected. Isolated. Abandoned. A warehouse on the edge of the city. No active lights. No visible activity. Perfect for someone who didn't want to be seen. I parked 50 meters away. Engine off. Lights off. Then I waited. 2 minutes. Exactly. Let him think I was following the script. Then I stepped out. Walked toward the entrance. No rush. No hesitation. The door was already open. Just enough. Invitation. Or confirmation. I stepped inside. Dark. Cold. Empty. At first. Then, a sound. Behind me. The door closed. Locked. I didn't turn immediately. Because I already knew. He was here. For the first time. Not a voice. Not a message. Real. I turned slowly. And saw him. Standing 10 feet away. Mid-40s. Calm posture. Neutral expression. Not what I expected. Not unstable. Not chaotic. Controlled. That made him more dangerous. His eyes stayed on me. Not aggressive. Observing. Still studying. You came, he said. I nodded once. You needed me to. A slight pause. Then, you're not afraid. It wasn't a question. I shook my head. No. Another pause. Longer this time. Because now, the roles had shifted again. We weren't observer and subject anymore. We were equal variables in the same space. You took something that doesn't belong to you, he said. The drive? Yes. I reached into my jacket slowly. Pulled it out. Held it up. Visible. Clear. I also copied it. That landed. Subtle. But real. His expression didn't change. But his breathing did. Slightly. Enough. Then you understand what this is, he said. I understand enough, I replied. Silence. Then, you opened the cabinet. Yes. You saw the records. Yes. Another pause. Deeper now. Because this was the point where everything connected. You weren't supposed to do that, he said. I know. Then why did you? I looked directly at him. And answered without hesitation. Because you made your first mistake. His eyes narrowed slightly. What mistake? I stepped 1 inch closer. Just enough to change the distance. You let me think. Silence. Heavy. Because that was true. And he knew it. You showed me the system, I continued. But you didn't lock it. No response. You gave me time, I added. Still nothing. You needed me to follow the process, but you didn't expect me to break it. That was it. The shift. Clear. Irreversible. Because now, he wasn't in control anymore. Not fully. Not like before. The warehouse stayed silent. No movement. No backup. Just us. And the system that no longer worked the way he planned. He looked at the drive in my hand. Then back at me. And for the first time since this started, he didn't give an instruction. He asked, what do you want? And that question was the final confirmation. This was no longer his sequence. It was mine. And how it ended was now up to me. I didn't answer him immediately. Because this was the moment everything led to. Not fear. Not escape. Decision. What do you want? The question hung between us. Heavy. Final. I looked at him. Really looked this time. Not the voice on the phone. Not the system behind the cameras. Just a man. Standing 10 feet away. Waiting. Calculating. Still trying to regain control of something that was already slipping. I wanted to end, I said. Simple. Direct. A pause. That's not possible. I shook my head slightly. It is. Just not the way you planned. Silence. He didn't interrupt. Didn't push back. Because now he understood. This wasn't a negotiation he could dominate. I lifted the drive slightly. Everything on this isn't just copied. I watched his eyes. Tracked the reaction. Subtle. But there. I sent it out. I continued. Multiple places. Timed release. That was the first real break. Not visible panic. But the absence of control. You're lying, he said. No, I held his gaze. If I don't check in within 12 hours, everything gets sent. A pause. Longer than anything before. Because this time, he had no way to verify it. No way to stop it remotely. And no way to reverse it. You don't understand what you're interfering with, he said. I stepped closer. Not aggressive. Not rushed. Measured. I do, I replied. It's not just you. That landed. Harder than anything else. Because now, I wasn't talking about his system. I was talking about the one behind it. The name I saw. The account. The structure. You're not the top of this. I said quietly. You're just the one who runs the sequence. Silence. Total. Because that was the truth he couldn't control. For the first time, he looked away. Just slightly. Just for a second. But it was enough. You need this to finish, I continued. Because if it doesn't, you don't get paid. And if you don't get paid, you're a liability. His jaw tightened. Not denial. Recognition. And if you become a liability, I added, they clean it up. The warehouse felt colder. Not physically, but in the space between us. Because now, the threat wasn't me. It was above him. What do you want? He asked again. This time lower. More real. I took a breath. Then said it clearly. You walk away. A pause. From me. From the house. From the system. That's not how this works. It is now. I held up the drive again. And you make sure no one ever comes back to that house. Silence. Then, that's not my decision. I nodded. I know. Another pause. So you make it theirs. He looked at me. Long careful. Because now, he wasn't deciding how to control me. He was deciding how to survive. If I do that, he said slowly, you disappear. I almost smiled. That was already the plan, wasn't it? Silence. He didn't answer. Because he didn't need to. We both knew. You end the sequence, I said. I keep everything buried. A long pause followed. The longest one yet. Because this wasn't strategy anymore. This was consequence. Finally, he nodded. Once. Small. But real. It ends. I studied him for a second longer. Then nodded back. Good. Neither of us moved. Not right away. Because both of us understood, this wasn't trust. This was balance. Temporary. Fragile. But enough. I stepped back. Lowered the drive. Then turned. Walked toward the door. No rush. No hesitation. Behind me, no footsteps. No voice. No attempt to stop me. Just silence. And that told me everything. I reached the door. Unlocked it. Stepped outside. The air felt different. Lighter. Not because I was safe, but because I was no longer part of it. I didn't look back. Not once. Because some systems don't need to be destroyed. They just need to lose access to you. The next morning, I went back to the house. One last time. The basement was empty. No screens. No cameras. No table. The cabinet was gone. Everything that had been there, removed. Clean. Like it never existed. But I knew better. Because systems like that don't disappear. They move. They adapt. They wait. I walked back upstairs. Stood in the kitchen. Looked at the corner where the red light used to blink. Nothing. Just a wall. Silent. Still. And for the first time since I moved in, it actually felt empty. I picked up my phone. Opened the message thread. No number. No history. Gone. Like him. Like everything else. But before I deleted the backups, I paused. Because one thought stayed with me. Clear. Unfinished. This didn't end because I escaped. It ended because I understood the sequence and refused to complete it. I locked the phone, set it down, and walked out of the house. This time for good. Because some places don't hold memories. They hold patterns. And the moment you recognize them, you don't stay. You leave. Before they start again.